Is this too short? This is 42 questions on 420 with me, Ace Shelander. What drives you to continually innovate and engineer products? And what is your process for pushing your products and business forward? I'm a problem solver. It's all about understanding what the problem is and how I can fix it. So I was presented with the first product of Beaker Wrench was to solve a valve that clogs a lot for the feed of a wipe film, peristaltic dosing pump. Next, outlet pumps. Next, complete wipe film system. So it's just find a problem, create a solution, put it on market. That's my process. What prompted you to design machines for cannabis first instead of alcohol, oil, or pharmaceuticals? So that was really down to my co-founder, Vanessa. She was working in the lab. It was her valve that clogged all the time. So because my founder was in cannabis and that was where our connections were, that's the problems that I was seeing were, that's where we went. What fields of study would best benefit someone who is looking to build, maintain, and repair machines at this caliber? Obviously, engineering is super useful. It gives you a really strong basis for, especially like if you're doing like thermodynamics and stuff, but really you just need curiosity and understanding. Like the engineering degree is great, spend 4 years learning all this other stuff, but what you really need is a firm grasp, like play with Legos as a kid. That's my best advice, play with Legos. Why did you decide purple and black for Beaker and Wrench's colors? I've always been partial to black, as you can tell. And purple was, I guess, Vanessa's choice, but I really like purple now. Like, purple is Beaker and Wrench's color, it's my color. It just felt right. What is your favorite machine that you've designed in Beaker and Wrench? I use solvent recovery, 12-inch, 6-inch. I'm gonna go with solvent recovery right now. I like the 6-inch is the most polished, perfect, refined machine we have. The 12-inch is an absolute monster, but the solvent recovery is something that's truly new. Not in that like no one's thought of the idea before, but because no one's put in the years of effort required to turn that into a functional system, and it really does magic. With the thermodynamics of heat pumps, it's multiplying the effort several fold. It's not an incremental improvement. It's a real order of magnitude change in efficiency. What event in your life set you on a path to engineering? I grew up playing with Legos. Like, I always knew I was going to be an engineer. That's just, it was never a question for me. Like, my parents wondered if I could get through engineering school with grades and stuff, but I was always going to be an engineer. I was always going to make something. That was in my DNA. What advancements in wipe film evaporation technology have had the biggest impact on cannabinoid recovery efficiency in recent years? So wipe film is actually a pretty old tech. I would say the only thing truly new to wipe film that we've done is the Sintertech mesh baffle, which does increase product purity by like a measurable degree. But everything else is just like refining, like getting that vacuum path like really short and big, and good temperature control and good flow rate control. Like that's what was missing when we entered the market was pumps, was flow rate control. So just sort of lining everything up, getting it right is how we've improved, and that's how we got to where we are today. Who's your favorite band? My favorite artist is by far Ghost Data. Look them up if you haven't heard of them. Amazing electronic music. Check out Ghost Data. Okay, where's your favorite place to eat on the weekends? Like, I live in LA, there's lots of amazing restaurants, but frankly, I cook at home most of the time. Not to toot my own horn, but I make some really good everything, especially sandwiches and pastas. I like cooking, it's amazing. What would you recommend if I wanted to start a lab for under 100K? That's a really tall order. Most places spend more on getting permits to do, like, not even the building, not even the equipment. Like, the equipment's only gonna be like a quarter of the whole lab startup cost. So you're gonna have to find your niche and really dial in and not waste a single dollar and get the permit in first. If you could be one animal for a day, what would it be? It has to be some sort of bird. I'm thinking a crow, because like one, they're smart, and two, I see them like flying over the hills and just like doing flips in the wind. It just looks like fun. I want to fly around. What is something about Beaker and Wrench that people might not be aware of? Custom machine. We do custom work. We are very well known for having pre-packaged systems. Like we solved a lot of problems. We have very polished equipment, but you can customize those. If you want a crazy distillation system that does something else completely, I will hear you out and give you a proposal. Do you play any video/board games? What is your favorite? I haven't played games in a while, at least computer games. Kerbal Space Program has to be my favorite video game that I've played in the last 10 years because I haven't played games in a while. There's so many cool board games out there that I've played like once or twice, but I can't remember them all. So, what were other brand name options besides Beaker and Wrench? I don't. That was so long ago. Honestly, at this point, I don't remember. Like, I think it was a pretty clear, like, hey, I'm an engineer, you're a chemist, Beaker and Wrench, let's do this. What is a challenge that you had to face in one of your projects that taught you something valuable? It has to be that building 10 of a something is more than 10 times more difficult than building one of a something. Because when you build something once, like I know how to get stuff to work, right? I can make one thing work day 1 or day 10. It doesn't matter, right? I can make it work. But then making the second one work and then giving 10 to different people and then explaining how to make those work and like dealing with all the additional problems that more use can cause than me just alone babying the system. Not babying it, but using it the way I know how. It's a challenge. Like having so many different pieces of equipment out there, there's new problems every day and we have to work through all of them. What single event or decision do you think most affected the rest of your life? Was there a turning point in your life? I'm gonna go with when we quit working at a lab. So we were working at this lab, we were basically just doing the same thing as every other cannabis consultant, right? Like we had a side business making pumps and some filters and stuff. And then we're like, oh, we no longer have a workshop and we have a pallet of stainless getting delivered to a triplex in Santa Monica. And then we had to get our own warehouse and like go full send on being Beaker and Wrench. And that was like dramatic change in trajectory. What is something that you never thought you'd be able to do until you actually did it? BattleBots? This is like so many years ago now, but like I heard that there's going to be a second season of BattleBots on the reboot. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to apply online. I'm going to spend a couple months making this like crazy CAD thing, and then got rejected. And then they called me back 5 weeks later and was like, hey, you only have a couple weeks to build or 5 weeks to build a robot, half as much as everyone else. You ready? And I'm like, what? Like, yes, let's do this. And so then I was on BattleBots, got my ass kicked. It was amazing. It was the most intense, like 7 weeks of my life. What is the most challenging part of building this business? It's sort of a tie between like sales and hiring. Like building a team is the most important thing you can do, because there's no way that I could do all of this myself. Like this is 15 people's worth of effort, and having a good team is everything. Why did I build a short path system? Frankly, it's because I designed a condenser head and I didn't like the idea of just selling a part, so we just put together the rest of the system, like most of the vacuum system, straight off the 6-inch. And we got a nice glass mantle made to go with the head. So it was really all about the head, but now there's a complete turnkey system around that that's everything you need, and highly, highly recommend. It's a really nice system. What is my favorite candy? Reese's, no question. Love peanut butter, Reese's. Where did you go to school? UC Davis is where I graduated from. Great school, actually. Love their engineering program. What is your advice to young engineers? Oh, this is perfect. Join a team. Like, classes are cool, get good grades, but like, none of my jobs that I've actually had ever asked me about the grades. Like, the first one I got out of college, like, I guess it was sort of important, but like, they hired me because I was in the Formula SA team where like, we built an actual race car and drove it around. Like, some of the jobs asked about, I definitely lost jobs because I had a meh GPA, but the job I got because I had knowledge and skills that I practiced doing extracurricular projects, real actual functional engineering projects as an extracurricular activity. Do those, go to class obviously, learn as much as you can, but do the projects. That's how you actually like learn how to implement that stuff. Everything else is just book learning. In simple words, what is the difference between THC and CBD? THC makes you feel funny. CBD doesn't so much. They both have kind of similar health effects. Maybe more research is needed. We need way more research on all of this. What has been your favorite thing to build? Going back to college, the Formula hybrid car. Like this was the race car that I made in college. I was co-captain of the team. We took what was a Formula SAE car, took out the 600cc motorcycle engine, put in a 250cc motorcycle engine and a 50 horsepower electric motor. Like this thing was stupid fast, super fun to drive, super easy to drive. Like I made a hybrid car that was like really fast. Far and away the favorite thing. Also super good for your engineering degree. How did you get into BattleBots? Obviously I watched BattleBots and Robo games as a kid, like seeing those robots, like I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then after I graduated from college and I was like working my second job, I guess, I saw that like BattleBots had a new season. I'm like, oh my gosh, and they were taking on online applications. So yeah, I made a design, I applied, I got in, and like I spent like 4 years making, it was a C-tier robot, let's be real, but like BattleBots are so cool in person. Are you building a new BattleBot? I really want to. BattleBots themselves has been, like, they're still sometimes holding competitions, but they're a little more exclusive, so it's harder to get in nowadays. I would love to. I'm gonna try to do another 3-pound combat robot this summer for more local competitions, which are super fun. Try one of those are fun. What is the most challenging thing about being a CEO? Networking. Believe it or not, I am an introvert. I like making machines. I understand machines, not so much people. So like doing the interaction, it's hard for me to keep up with, that's all. How do you respond to negative feedback? I try to listen to it. I also try not to take it personally because most people are just frustrated. I really try to listen to it and understand why they're having that reaction, because usually I can fix it. It's often a very simple problem, or sometimes it is something that I do need to fix and I need to work on that. What are terpenes? So terpenes are technically a 5-carbon, or more technically a multiple of 5 carbons. They're either 5 or 10 or 15, or theoretically I guess 20 or 25 carbon molecules that plants make. And I don't really understand too much more about that, but they are a lot of the flavors and scents that we smell about plants, like that pine tree smell or lemon scent, like lemon zest, like that's terpenes. It's plant tastes and smells, and for some reason they have multiples of 5 carbons in them. Why did you get into cannabis? So again, I met my co-founder Vanessa, and she was in the cannabis industry. She was a technician doing distillation, and she had a problem that needed to be fixed. So that's how I got into it. It was the problem that was presented to me, and I like finding solutions for that. Did you ever think the company would grow this much? I had hopes. I designed machines. Like I didn't really know how to grow a company like this. Like credit to Vanessa to like hire people, do the business work, do the chemistry, teach me the chemistry, to make it into what it is today. And now we have an amazing team that like really carries it forward. What is your ideal lab setup? Depends on what you're trying to do. The question is always like, how much are you trying to produce? And that's assuming you want to produce cannabis distillate. There's a bajillion other products in the world, and I'm more than happy to solve that problem. And depending on what you're trying to do and how much you're trying to do of it, it's a wildly different answer. So there's no one setup. It's design your process for the goal. Can you use RO water to clean the gear pump? Yes, there's nothing special about RO water. It's nice and pure. Cannabis oils are not soluble in water, so that's not gonna help, but they are very good. Water is very good at taking out sugars. So if you really want to clean the gear pump, you do need a solvent like the Daily Clean, like limonene, or if you mix water with our Mega Clean solution, that's a detergent cleaner. That does an amazing job. Just keep in mind that water is not lubricating, so you do want to minimize the amount of run time of non-lubricating solvents and water as well through the gear pump. On 6-inch it doesn't matter, but on the 12-inch, the higher speeds, you do eventually wear out the gear pump. On a distillate run, can you over push and degrade extracted distillate? On a short path, sure. Like if you don't have a good vacuum and you're trying to go low and slow, yeah, you're gonna be sitting there for days. But if you actually try and go fast on a short path, or especially on a white film, like a white film, the contact time is so low, it's hard to degrade the cannabinoids. On a short path, go fast, don't go slow. What's the max RPM that a B&W wiper can handle? So on the 6-inch, all the new ones go over 400 RPM. Some of the old ones can only do 300. The wiper speed matters remarkably little. You could get more or less the same distillation at 200 or 300 at 400. As you go faster's somewhat better, but yeah, 300 RPM is great. On the 12-inch, about half that, 150 to 200 RPM is solid because it's a bigger diameter, so you only need to spin half as fast. What is the difference between heads fraction and terpene strips? One is on a short pass system, one is on a wipe film. They're the same fraction, but one is a time period and one is a dedicated pass. They're the same cut, right? You're getting rid of everything up to and including just a little bit of cannabinoids. That's the goal, is to get all the terpenes out and a little bit of cannabinoids just to make sure all the terpenes are gone, and then you can actually go to your main body. Why is stainless steel better than what? Good question. It's more durable than glass in that it doesn't shatter on you. It's more abusable. It has slightly better heat transfer. Interestingly enough, it's softer than glass. Stainless steel is not, or at least 304 and 316 stainless are not hard stainlesses. The inside of the wiper will erode away over time. We've never had to replace a wiper body for it, but you will notice scratches where a glass wiper won't. And then if you really want to get like technical, our pumps are made out of a hardened like 400 series stainless. These rarely ever wear out. So there's different kinds of stainless and they have wildly different properties. In simple words, how does solvent recovery work? Solvent recovery is a distillation process. Distillation is the process of heating a liquid until some portion of it evaporates and then condensing that vapor somewhere else. So now you have a concentrate and a distillate. And evaporating liquid is a very energy intensive process. So in a traditional process, you put electricity into heat and then you have a chiller running to pull that heat out and blow it to the environment. In our solvent recovery process, we have a heat pump that's providing the heat, and that heat comes from the condensation. So when we pull the heat out to condense it, we have a compressor that literally compresses gas and makes that hotter and then put it into that heat back into the process. And we create this closed loop that's literally like 3 and 4 and 5 times more efficient than the traditional process. What has been your favorite part of this journey? Like having cool, I don't want to say toys, but like having built like all these like space age, like super cool equipment and like getting all these interesting problems to solve on a daily basis. Like that's what I live for. Would you say your success is due to luck, hard work, or both? Anyone who doesn't say both is smoking some shit. Like I was very lucky to meet my co-founder when I did, and for us to both enter the market at the time when the industry was growing very rapidly and there was a lot of money going around, and that we had a product that helped the industry. So like all that came together, but also we needed to bust our freaking asses to design the new products, to deliver everything, to provide the support that was and still is sorely lacking in the industry. So yeah, it's a grind. You have to do it every day, and you have to be lucky for that grind to pay off. Like that's not guaranteed, and I consider myself very lucky that it has. How do you deal with sugars during distillation? Sugars come from essentially the sap of the plant, by my understanding. That like if you have stems and you extract them, especially with like warm solvents, you'll get these compounds that go through every filter. You can't filter them out ahead of time. They are in solution, and then they polymerize when you start heating it. When you heat under decarb, and then a little more for the terpene strip, and then finally distillation is where they polymerize the most. The best thing to do is don't extract stems. But if your machine's coated with them, Don't take it apart. Do a clean in place with water or Mega Clean. Mega Clean's amazing. That's how you clean it out. And on the 6-inch, they're not really a problem. You can run for days even with shitty material and it'll eventually cake up and then you clean your system. The 12-inch, we actually had to put in several measures to prevent that buildup from happening 5 times faster because it's processing 5 times faster. So like there's screens on the inlet, there's screens on the exit strainer that like collect a lot of that debris before it can go to the pump and jam up the system. But the best thing you can do is don't extract stems and then clean with water. It's water soluble, it's not ethanol soluble. What is the SOP for a 6-inch white film? Buy a 6-inch white film. I will come to your facility or spend 8 hours with you on the phone teaching you everything you need to know. White films are not hard to run. There's a lot of pieces, but there's only 2 dials. It's like, if you want more stuff to distill, turn up the temperature or down the flow rate. And if you want less stuff to distill, turn down the temperature or up the flow rate. That's the entire optimization process repeated in different ways with different measurement techniques. Everything else is accessory.